Golf might be known as the gentleman's game, a sport defined by etiquette, calm composure, and quiet respect. But over the years, that peaceful reputation has taken a few wild hits. Beneath the perfectly trimmed greens and polite handshakes lies a surprisingly fiery undercurrent. Tempers flare, egos clash, and sometimes, even the most disciplined professionals lose control. Today, we're diving deep into some of the most outrageous fights, meltdowns, and heated moments in golf history. The kind that remind us that even in a game built on patience, passion can explode at any second. It's hard to imagine anyone swinging a golf club in anger. But the truth is, some of the most memorable moments in the sport's history have come not from perfect drives or legendary putts, but from confrontations that no one saw coming. Let's start with one of the most infamous moments in Ryder Cup history, the 1999 Battle of Brookline. It was supposed to be a day of sportsmanship and pride, but when the US team staged a miraculous comeback, emotions ran out of control. Justin Leonard drained a monster putt on the 17th, sending the American team and even their wives charging across the green in celebration, before Jose Maria Olazabal even had a chance to attempt his own putt. What followed was chaos, shouting, confusion, and anger. The Europeans called it one of the most disrespectful moments in golf history. The Americans said it was pure passion. Either way, that single putt turned the quiet gentleman's game into a heated spectacle. But that wasn't the first or the last time the Ryder Cup saw tempers boil over. Fast forward to 2018 in Paris. Brooks Koepka and Dustin Johnson, usually cool as ice, were rumored to have nearly come to blows during a team celebration. Witnesses described shoving, shouting, and a tension so thick that it carried over into the next day's team meetings. Both players denied it, but their frosty interactions afterwards said more than words ever could. The Ryder Cup, it seems, has a strange way of bringing out both the best and the worst in players. And who could forget Patrick Reed, the man some fans have dubbed Captain America, and others, the villain of golf. Reed has had more than his fair share of controversial moments, but one of the most explosive came again at the Ryder Cup. In 2018, after the US team's devastating loss to Europe, Reed openly criticized his captain and teammates, accusing them of poor decisions and lack of trust. His comments lit up headlines and divided the golf world. What was supposed to be a team event turned into a blame game, with Reed at the center of the storm. Golf fans were stunned. The sport wasn't used to this level of public drama. And for a while, it seemed like Reed was embracing the role of golf's ultimate anti-hero. Outside of the Ryder Cup, the list of fiery moments keeps growing. Sergio Garcia, one of the most talented players to ever touch a club, is also known for his temper. From smashing clubs into bunkers to launching balls into lakes, Garcia's emotional outbursts have been as iconic as his victories. One of his most unforgettable meltdowns happened during the 2019 Saudi International, when frustration boiled over after a poor bunker shot. Reports surfaced that he damaged multiple greens in anger, leading to his disqualification. It was a rare punishment, but a reminder that even world-class players sometimes let their emotions win the match. Of course, we can't talk about golf fights without mentioning the notorious feud between Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau. What started as subtle jabs about slow play quickly turned into one of the most public rivalries in recent golf memory. The two exchanged barbs online and in interviews, with fans gleefully picking sides. The tension reached its peak at the 2021 PGA Championship, when leaked footage showed Koepka rolling his eyes in pure exasperation as DeChambeau walked behind him mid-interview. The clip went viral, spawning memes, hashtags, and endless debates. Even though the two eventually made peace for the sake of the Ryder Cup team, the feud had already written itself into golf lore. It wasn't just about drives and putts anymore. It was about pride, personality, and the battle for dominance in the new era of golf. But not all fights in golf come from the pros. Sometimes, the wildest moments come from the amateurs, where alcohol, frustration, and ego collide in unpredictable ways. Over the years, countless viral videos have surfaced, showing local golfers throwing clubs, yelling at each other, or even coming to blows on the fairway. One particularly infamous clip showed two men wrestling near a water hazard, after one accused the other of cheating on a friendly wager. Another showed a heated argument escalating into a fistfight right next to the tee box. all while other players calmly continued their rounds nearby, as if nothing unusual was happening. It's proof that golf might look refined, but emotions can still explode under the surface. Even legends have lost their cool. John Daly, known as golf's wild child, built a reputation on long drives and an even longer list of outbursts. Whether it was throwing clubs, tearing off his shirt in frustration, or storming off mid-round, Daly has always been unapologetically himself. But what's fascinating is how his raw, human moments have made fans love him even more. Thin in sports, and golf, for all its decorum, is no exception. When you're competing at the highest level, when every swing could mean victory or defeat, pressure builds. The silence of the crowd, the weight of expectation, the precision required, it all adds up. And sometimes, that intensity bursts out. Interestingly, many of these confrontations have led to reforms in golf's culture. After several incidents of club throwing and cursing were caught on camera, the PGA began emphasizing player conduct more strictly. Penalties were enforced, fines handed out, and stars were reminded that eyes were always watching. But despite the discipline, the fiery moments still sneak through, because passion, once ignited, is hard to contain. Take Tiger Woods, for example. Though rarely confrontational, his intensity has produced countless emotional displays. Roars, fist pumps, and yes, the occasional visible frustration. The difference is that Woods channels it. His legendary focus turns what could be anger into fuel. Yet, even Tiger has had moments where the mask slips, broken clubs, muttered curses, that unmistakable flash of irritation after a missed putt. And fans love it. It makes him real. Players who once clashed often end up laughing about it years later. The same Koepka and DeChambeau who dominated headlines with their feud eventually embraced for charity matches. Even Reed, despite his critics, still commands massive fan attention. Time smooths the rough edges, and the game continues. Still, nothing captures golf's unpredictable nature like when emotion takes center stage. One of the most bizarre fights in golf history didn't even involve players. It involved caddies. During a tournament in Asia, two caddies reportedly exchanged heated words over pace of play that escalated into a full-on brawl behind the green, shocking spectators. Officials intervened, but the footage became an internet sensation. It was absurd, yet strangely telling. Golf, for all its structure and serenity, is played by people. People with pride, frustration, and sometimes short fuses. Endemic outbursts. It's all changed the tone of the game. Once golf was whispered about. Now, it's cheered, booed, and memed online. In that transformation, fights, verbal or otherwise, have become part of golf's modern drama. Yet, amid all this chaos, there's something undeniably captivating about these moments. They remind us that golf isn't just about calm precision. It's about emotion, pride, rivalry, and human imperfection. The sight of two world-class athletes arguing on the fairway might seem shocking, but it's also proof of how much the game means to them. When everything's on the line, when reputations and legacies hang in the balance, even the calmest players can erupt. And maybe that's why these fights, as outrageous as they are, stay etched in memory. They make golf relatable. They break the illusion of perfection and show us the fire behind the formality. Every club thrown, every harsh word exchanged, every icy stare, it all speaks to a deeper truth. Golf, like life, isn't always polite. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's emotional. And sometimes, that's exactly what makes it beautiful. What's truly fascinating about golf's most outrageous fights is how they reveal the clash between two worlds: the traditional world of respect, etiquette, and silence, and the modern world of personalities, media, and spectacle. The game has evolved from an elite pastime whispered across manicured greens to a global entertainment industry where every emotion is broadcast in high definition. That transformation has intensified the pressure on players, and with cameras rolling from every angle, even a fleeting argument or frustrated glare can explode into a viral moment. The sport's long-standing image of calm professionalism is constantly tested by this new reality. Golfers are no longer just athletes, they're brands, influencers, and public figures. whose every action can fuel headlines or ignite controversy. The golfer, visibly irritated, confronted the fan, leading to a brief standoff before security intervened. It highlighted the growing tension between golf's traditional decorum and the rowdy enthusiasm of modern spectatorship. Even caddies, usually calm and professional, have found themselves in the middle of these outbursts. One infamous altercation took place in Japan during the Dunlop Phoenix tournament, when two caddies began shouting at each other over a disagreement about player positioning. What started as a verbal spat quickly escalated into a physical scuffle, shocking spectators. The players themselves had to separate their own caddies. It was bizarre, almost comical, but it also reflected the intensity that golf can generate, not just among players, but everyone involved in the game. In the end, the greatest fights in golf don't just live in viral videos or history books. They live in the passion that keeps the sport alive. Because whether it's a Ryder Cup standoff, a simmering rivalry, or a moment of frustration on the green, these outbursts remind us that beneath the quiet surface of the game beats a fierce, competitive heart. Golf might demand composure, but it's the flashes of fire that make it unforgettable. The crowd is silent. A putter hovers above the green. The air feels heavy, almost electric. One smooth stroke could win it all, or spark outrage that ripples across the world of women's golf. Golf may look peaceful. Calm greens, slow claps, polite smiles. But beneath that quiet surface lies a storm of drama, emotion, and pure intensity. From mid-match firings to shocking penalties, these moments remind fans that golf isn't just about precision, it's about pressure. Today, let's unpack the 10 most heated controversies in women's golf history. The moments that shocked fans, divided opinions, and changed the sport forever. Number 10. Fired and hired. Jessica Korda's mid-match meltdown. It's 2017. The stage is the US Open. Jessica Korda is grinding through her third round, visibly frustrated as her game starts slipping away. The sun's hot, the tension's high, and frustration is building with every swing. Spectators can see it. Korda's body language says it all. The tension between her and her caddy, Jason Gilroy, has been bubbling for holes. Then, suddenly, it all explodes. Right there, in the middle of the tournament, Korda fires her caddy. No private conversation, no locker room discussion, just raw emotion, caught on live television. The crowd watches, stunned. Cameras zoom in as she turns to her boyfriend, Johnny Delpreet, and calmly hands him the bag. The switch is instant. He steps in as her new caddy. Mid-round. Some viewers call it unprofessional. Others see it as a moment of brutal honesty. Korda later explains that having her boyfriend by her side helped her settle her nerves, keeping her mind at peace through the chaos. No matter the justification, that scene at the 2017 US Open became unforgettable. It wasn't just about golf anymore. It was about composure, emotion, and how far a player might go to regain control in the heat of competition. Number 9. The sudden outburst. Stacey Lewis loses her cool. Fast forward to the 2012 ShopRite LPGA Classic, the final round. The air is thick with pressure. Stacey Lewis, known for her calm and composed demeanor, is laser-focused until one misstep breaks her rhythm. After a rough shot, Lewis does something completely unexpected. She grabs her club, turns, and smashes it against her golf bag. The sound echoes across the course, a sharp, metallic reminder that even the calmest athletes can crack under pressure. The crowd gasps. Commentators go silent for a beat, unsure how to react. For a golfer celebrated for her poise, this was an uncharacteristic eruption of emotion. But what's fascinating is what happens next. Lewis takes a deep breath, regains control, and finishes the tournament strong, landing third. The incident becomes a reminder that even champions aren't immune to frustration. In golf, where silence, etiquette, and restraint define the sport, that moment of raw emotion turned Stacey Lewis into a symbol of both passion and humanity. Number 8. The missed putt, when sportsmanship turned into chaos. The 2021 Solheim Cup was supposed to be a display of the finest team play in women's golf. USA versus Europe, pride and pressure on the line. Then, controversy struck. Nelly Korda lines up her putt. The ball rolls slowly toward the hole, teeters on the edge, and stops, just shy. European player Madeline Sagström, assuming it's over, reaches down, picks up the ball, and tosses it back. A small gesture of courtesy? Maybe. But in golf, every second counts, and every rule matters. Officials step in, review the footage, and determine Sagström acted too quickly. According to the rulebook, players must wait 10 seconds before touching a ball resting on the lip. Sagström's quick reaction meant that by rule, Korda's putt counted as hold. The ruling gives Korda an eagle and Team USA a win, but the decision divides the entire golf community. Some call it unfair. Others insist that rules are rules. Sagström later admits she simply didn't think twice. She just acted instinctively. That single split-second decision turned into one of the most debated calls in Solheim Cup history. Number 7. The intense rivalry. The Solheim Cup showdown. The 2015 Solheim Cup is remembered as one of the most emotionally charged tournaments ever played. The tension between Team USA and Team Europe was palpable, but one particular moment pushed everyone over the edge. American golfer Allison Lee was on the green, facing a short putt, less than 2 feet. Thinking her opponent Suzann Pettersson had conceded the putt, she picked up her ball. What happened next stunned everyone. Pettersson protested. The referees ruled that no concession had been given. That meant Lee had forfeited the hole. The ruling gave Europe the point and the lead, but the sight of Allison Lee crying on the green, teammates comforting her, and Pettersson's stoic reaction ignited an emotional firestorm. Critics called the move unsportsmanlike. Defenders said Pettersson had simply followed the rules. The fallout was so fierce that even days later, headlines screamed about sportsmanship gone too far. Eventually, Pettersson issued a public apology, admitting the moment should have been handled differently. But by then, the damage was done. The 2015 Solheim Cup was forever marked by that tense, tearful standoff. Number 6. Call it what you want. The fist bump that sparked debate. In 2019, two golfers, Amy Olsen and Araya Jutanagarn, found themselves at the center of a debate that no one saw coming. During a tournament, Olsen's chip shot bounced and struck Jutanagarn's ball, resting on the green. It redirected Olsen's ball closer to the hole. A lucky break? Sure. But what caught everyone's attention wasn't the shot. It was what came next. The two players looked at each other, smiled, and fist bumped. It was quick, casual, even friendly. But to fans watching from home, it looked suspiciously coordinated. Was it sportsmanship or something else entirely? Social media lit up with theories. Some viewers accused the players of planning it, suggesting that Jutanagarn might have intentionally left her ball to give Olsen an advantage. Others brushed it off as coincidence. Just one of those wild things that happen in golf. Both golfers denied any wrongdoing, but the conversation didn't stop. For weeks, commentators debated the fine line between fairness and friendship. That single fist bump, a moment that lasted seconds, became one of the most talked about, maybe controversies, in LPGA history. Number 5. The slight mishap. When 3 grains of sand changed everything. Imagine training your whole life for a moment, only to have it undone by 3 tiny grains of sand. That's exactly what happened at the 2016 US Women's Open during the playoff between Anna Nordqvist and Brittany Lang. Nordqvist was playing from a bunker when her club barely brushed the sand. The movement was so subtle that most viewers didn't even notice it, but slow-motion replay did. Officials ruled it a violation, handing Nordqvist a 2-stroke penalty. That in itself was brutal, but what made it worse was timing. Nordqvist wasn't told about the penalty until after she finished her final hole. Lang, meanwhile, was notified earlier, giving her an advantage in strategy. Fans erupted online, accusing officials of mishandling the situation. Nordqvist handled it with grace, but it didn't stop the backlash. People called it unfair, saying the ruling was overly harsh for something so microscopic. To this day, that 3 grains of sand penalty stands as one of the sport's most controversial moments, proof that even perfection can crumble under scrutiny. Number 4. The seemingly unfair penalty. Lexi Thompson's heartbreak. Few controversies hit as hard as Lexi Thompson's shocking penalty during the 2017 ANA Inspiration. Thompson was on fire, leading the tournament, smiling, confident, just a few holes away from victory. Then, everything fell apart. Mid-round, LPGA officials approached her on the course. They informed her she'd been handed a 4-stroke penalty, 2 for improperly replacing her ball during the 3rd round, and 2 more for not correcting it. The most unbelievable part, the penalty came from a TV viewer's email. That's right, someone watching from home noticed the ball's position, emailed officials, and changed the entire outcome of the tournament. The crowd was furious. Thompson looked stunned, then heartbroken, asking, "Is this a joke?" She fought back tears and kept playing. But the penalty cost her the win. The backlash was immediate. Fans argued it was absurd that viewers could influence outcomes hours after the fact. Even other pros called the rule outdated and unfair. The incident led to changes in the LPGA's policy, limiting viewer interference. But for Thompson, the sting of that loss remains one of the sport's most emotional moments. For those watching live, it felt like witnessing an athlete's dream crumble in real time. The cameras caught every flicker of emotion on Thompson's face: disbelief, anger, heartbreak, and finally, resolve. She refused to quit. Every swing after that announcement carried the weight of the world, but also the strength of someone refusing to be defeated by circumstances beyond control. Commentators struggled to find words, the crowd murmured in shock, and social media exploded with sympathy. Even players from rival tours spoke up, defending her integrity and calling for fairness in the sport. It wasn't just a controversy anymore. It became a movement, a symbol of how compassion and reason needed to evolve alongside the rules. And though Thompson didn't lift the trophy that day, she won something far more enduring: the respect and empathy of millions who saw her face adversity with grace. Number 3. Lydia Ko's 7-stroke nightmare. The 2023 Dana Open turned from triumph to disaster for Lydia Ko, one of the sport's most respected stars. Ko was in excellent form, cruising near the top of the leaderboard. Everything was going right, until it wasn't. On the 11th hole of her final round, officials discovered she had made a costly mistake. She had been playing under preferred lies, a local rule allowing players to adjust the ball's position. The problem? That rule only applied to holes 1 and 10. Ko had unknowingly used it on holes 3, 7, and 9. When officials added up the penalties, it totaled 7 strokes. 7. Her score plummeted. Overnight, her name slid from near the top of the leaderboard to the bottom. For a player as meticulous as Ko, it was a shocking oversight. The mistake served as a harsh reminder of how unforgiving the rulebook can be, and how quickly a dominant performance can unravel. Number 2. The racist remark. When words crossed the line. Not every controversy happens on the course. Some happen behind the mic, and in this case, the damage spread fast. During his golf radio show, Hank Haney, a professional instructor, made remarks that stunned listeners. While discussing the 74th U.S. Women's Open, he joked that a Korean would likely win, adding that he couldn't tell them apart. The reaction was immediate and fierce. The golf community condemned the comments, calling them racist and deeply disrespectful. Haney apologized, but the apology fell flat. He was soon suspended, then fired from Sirius XM. The controversy became a turning point in how seriously golf media addresses issues of respect and diversity. It wasn't just about one man's careless words. It was about accountability and change in a sport long criticized for its exclusivity. Number 1. The water shot, Se-Reed Pak's defining moment. Now, for the most iconic and emotional controversy of all, one that redefined women's golf forever. It's the 1998 U.S. Women's Open at the Black Wolf Run golf course. Se-Reed Pak is tied with Jenny Chwasereporn. The pressure is unbearable. The championship hangs on one final shot. Pak's ball lands dangerously close to the water, barely a foot away. The crowd murmurs. Commentators whisper about a potential drop, but Pak doesn't flinch. She takes off her shoes and socks, wades into the cold water, and lines up her shot barefoot. Cameras zoom in. Her eyes are locked in. Then, she swings. The ball soars through the air, lands perfectly on the green, and rolls within birdie range. The crowd erupts. That shot, that single moment of courage, earns her the championship. Some called it reckless, others called it genius. But everyone agreed on one thing. Se-Reed Pak had just made history. That fearless move didn't just win her a title. It inspired a generation of golfers, especially in South Korea, to chase their dreams with the same fire. From fiery tempers and mid-round firings to split-second rule violations and moments of absolute brilliance, women's golf has seen it all. These controversies didn't just spark debates, they shaped the sport, tested its integrity, and reminded fans that behind every graceful swing lies a human story filled with emotion. Some moments made headlines for the wrong reasons, others became legends, but together, they've written one powerful truth. In golf, calm doesn't mean quiet. Beneath the stillness, it's a game bursting with heart, pressure, and the kind of passion that keeps millions watching. Which of these controversies shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let the debate begin. And if you love stories that dive deep into the drama, emotion, and legacy behind the game, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There's always another story waiting just beyond the green.
2 perfect shots, Michael. You got me in the water on one and over the green on the other.
Golf is supposed to be calm, classy, and polite, right? Wrong. Beneath the quiet claps and manicured fairways lies a sport that's full of rage, ego, and chaos. From screaming matches to caddies storming off mid-round, some of the craziest confrontations in sports history have happened on a golf course. And today, we're reliving the absolute best of them. Let's start with a scene that shows just how quickly things can spiral when the stakes are sky high. The US team was dominating at the Ryder Cup, cruising with a massive lead. Europe desperately needed a miracle. Then one of their stars steps up on a par 5, slips on his tee shot, and sends the ball sailing straight into Lake Michigan. In match play, that's a disaster. Every single shot is life or death. Then things got messy. All 4 players agreed where the ball crossed the hazard. Simple drop, end of story. But a course official claimed it was 20 yards farther up, a game-changing difference. An American protested. The European caddy fired back, and a routine ruling exploded into a heated argument. In the end, the original spot stood. The US won the hole, and the tension was unforgettable. Golf is built on trust, especially between a player and caddy. Picture a pro facing water with almost no margin for error, torn between a 4-iron and something longer. They debate wind, slope, adrenaline, until the caddy calmly explains, the uphill lie will add loft, making the 4-iron perfect. The pro trusts the call, hits a towering shot, and lands it softly on the green. That's the power of partnership, relying on someone else's judgment when pressure clouds your own. But not every partnership is built on that kind of harmony. Sometimes, it's pure chaos. Like the time Tiger Woods was locked in during a tournament, standing in a bunker and about to hit a critical shot, when a camera shutter clicked right in the middle of his backswing. Tiger stopped immediately, clearly furious. His caddy, Steve Williams, had already asked the fan twice to stop. Third time? He didn't ask. He marched over, demanded the camera, ripped it out of the man's hands, and tossed it straight into a nearby pond. Just plop. Gone. Security froze. The gallery gasped. Tiger didn't even look back. That's how sacred silence is in golf. It's not a courtesy. It's a commandment. Then there are the moments that are less about anger and more about absurdity, like the time a player argued that he should get a free drop because his ball was sitting on an anthill. His reasoning? Ants dig holes, so they're burrowing animals. The rules official was having none of it. Ants are loose impediments, not burrowers. What followed was a hilarious mid-tournament biology debate complete with questions about allergic reactions and ant tunnel classifications. In the end, the ruling didn't change, but the moment was pure comedy gold. Of course, not every disagreement is funny. One of the most infamous meltdowns in golf history happened when a frustrated pro verbally tore into his caddy mid-round. After one too many missed shots, the insults started flying, and his caddy had enough. He dropped the bag right there on the fairway and walked off. The stunned golfer looked around and ended up asking a random spectator, a school principal of all people, to carry his clubs for the rest of the round. Imagine buying a ticket to watch a tournament and ending up in the tournament. That partnership, unsurprisingly, ended the moment the final putt dropped. Then you've got the moments where caddies are practically begging players not to self-destruct, and getting ignored anyway. At a tournament in Texas, a player's ball landed behind a massive tree. His caddy begged him to punch out and play it safe. The player refused, swung anyway, and absolutely nuked it over the green, exactly as predicted. But fate was feeling mischievous. The ball landed near a grandstand, which meant free relief, and he ended up chipping in for birdie. His smug post-round comment? "I love proving my caddy wrong." Ouch. That stubborn streak runs deep in golf. Another star found himself in a brutal spot after his tee shot ricocheted off a tree and buried itself in deep rough. His caddy wanted him to just chip out, take the safe route, and try to salvage par. But the player was overthinking every possibility. What if the layup doesn't reach? What if it costs another shot? Finally, frustration boiled over. "Let's just hit it," he snapped. And he did. A perfect recovery, a pinpoint approach, and a birdie that turned the hole around. Sometimes, logic loses to instinct, and instinct wins. And if you think things only get heated between players and caddies, think again. At one Ryder Cup match, a European player told an American caddy to move out of his putting line, but did it with the kind of tone that would make anyone's blood boil. The putt dropped, tension spiked, and suddenly players and caddies from both teams were nose to nose, shouting as they walked to the next tee. The match ended with stiff, icy handshakes, the kind where you smile for the cameras but silently wish you could throw a punch. And sometimes, the anger doesn't stop at teammates or opponents. It hits family. After a brutal few days at a major, one player hit yet another awful drive. Without even glancing back, he tossed his driver over his shoulder, straight at his caddy. That caddy happened to be his brother. The crowd gasped, phones shot into the air, and the clip went viral within hours. He walked off without a word, and his brother silently picked up the club and followed. It was the perfect snapshot of golf's emotional pressure cooker, and how even blood ties can't always survive it. If there's one rivalry that proves golf isn't always the gentleman's game it claims to be, it's the saga between two of the sport's biggest personalities. Two men who spent years sniping at each other in interviews, throwing shade on social media, and even getting fans kicked out of tournaments for heckling. It started with snide remarks about slow play, escalated into public insults, and peaked with that now legendary interview moment. The one where one of them rolled his eyes so hard when the other walked past that it instantly became a meme. Fans started chanting nicknames. One offered free beer to anyone who joined in on the trolling, and suddenly golf had its own version of a heavyweight boxing feud. So imagine the collective confusion when, after years of open hostility, the two were suddenly laughing together, cracking jokes about their past battles, and even talking about teaming up. It was like watching sworn enemies hug it out in a buddy cop movie. It just goes to show, in golf, the line between rivalry and respect is razor thin, and sometimes, even the fiercest feuds burn out. But when pride and tension collide, things can go way beyond petty words. Take the match between Keegan Bradley and Miguel Angel Jimenez at a World Golf Championship event. Neither player had anything on the line. Both had already been eliminated, but you wouldn't know it from the way they were glaring at each other. The tension started when Jimenez questioned a drop Bradley was given earlier in the round. By the 18th hole, it boiled over. Bradley's ball landed near a temporary fence, entitling him to relief. Routine stuff, until Jimenez walked 40 yards back to offer his opinion on how the drop should be handled. Bradley's caddy wasn't having it, and fired back. Jimenez told him to shut up. Bradley stepped in, defending his caddy, and suddenly the two pros were face to face, shouting on the fairway. This was no polite disagreement. This was a full-blown confrontation. Jimenez won the match, but the post-round explanations didn't smooth things over. Bradley said he had to stand up for his guy. Jimenez claimed he was just trying to help. Either way, it became one of the most infamous dust-ups the sport had ever seen. Just when you think golf's drama ends on the green, it spills into the parking lot. Late one night at the Ryder Cup in Rome, cameras caught a European star screaming at an American caddy, so furious that a teammate had to drag him into a car. The chaos started earlier when fans mocked a US player for not wearing a team cap, rumored to be a protest over pay. After that player drained 2 clutch birdies, his caddy waved his hat at the crowd. Right in the rival's putting line, it was pure gasoline on the fire. And it's not always just anger. Sometimes it's fear. In a 2021 Ryder Cup match, a major champion found his ball near a drainage area just weeks after injuring his wrist. He begged for relief, but officials said no. Furious but determined, he hit anyway, and pulled off a brilliant shot. Golf isn't always about etiquette. Sometimes it's survival. And then there's the moment when frustration becomes so overwhelming that a player makes a career-defining decision in the middle of a tournament. Jessica Korda was having a brutal round at the US Women's Open. Nothing was going right. The tension between her and her caddy had been building all day, and finally mid-round, she snapped. She fired him. Not after the round, not in the locker room, mid-round. And because she still had holes to play, she looked to the gallery and called on her boyfriend to carry the bag. He was a pro golfer himself, so he handled it fine, but the whole scene felt surreal. One second you're watching the US Open, the next you're watching a breakup and a new hire happen live on camera. Some caddies don't even get the dignity of being fired in person. Michelle Wie's early career became notorious for what many called the caddy carousel. One veteran, fresh off a strong finish at the British Open, was sitting in an airport when his phone rang. It was Wie's agent, not Wie herself, telling him he was done. No explanation, no goodbye, just, "You're out." It happened again and again. Caddies started joking that they never unpacked their suitcases when working with her. The pressure of her rapid rise, the expectations, the relentless spotlight, whatever the cause, the turnover became one of the strangest ongoing stories in women's golf. And just when you think the drama couldn't possibly escalate any further, a caddy shoved a fan. Yes, you heard that right. It happened at the President's Cup in Australia, and the player involved was already public enemy number one thanks to a controversial bunker incident the week before. The crowd was relentless, heckling, chanting, mocking him on every hole. After 3 straight losses, his caddy, who also happened to be his brother-in-law, snapped. He leapt off a cart and physically shoved a heckler. Security had to step in, and the caddy was banned from carrying the bag the next day, a first in President's Cup history. The player had to finish the tournament with his swing coach on the bag, and the incident became a headline for weeks. Here's the truth. Golf's clean-cut image is a lie. Underneath the polite clapping and pressed polos, it's a sport built on emotion, frustration, pride, anger, and even love. It's teammates shouting at each other, players arguing with officials, caddies defending their pros, and fans pushing buttons until someone snaps. And maybe that's what makes these moments so compelling. Golf isn't just about fairways and flags. It's about people under pressure, and pressure always reveals who they really are. So the next time someone tells you golf is boring, remind them of the time a caddy threw a camera into a pond, a player fired their caddy mid-round, or a parking lot turned into a shouting match. Because in this sport, the drama doesn't end when the ball drops. That's usually when it starts. And if you enjoyed diving into the wild side of golf, don't forget to stick around. There are plenty more untold stories where this came from. Hit that button, share it with a fellow golf fan, and let's keep exploring the chaos hiding under the calm.
Savage reaction off.
It's going to exceed our expectations. Ian Poulter.
The Ryder Cup is golf's biggest pressure cooker. Every 2 years, friendships get pushed aside, reputations are made or shattered, and sportsmanship sometimes takes a back seat to sheer intensity. Over the decades, the Cup has delivered some of golf's wildest, most controversial moments, scenes so heated, they're still talked about years later. Let's jump into the 10 most controversial moments in Ryder Cup history. And some of these? They're not just shocking. They completely rewrote the rulebook for what fans expect from golf's fiercest rivalry. 1. Reed vs. Rory, the Gladiator Duel, 2016. Hazeltine, 2016, Sunday singles. Everything was on the line. Team USA was trailing, 9.5 to 6.5 after a rough Saturday, and they needed a spark. That spark? It came from Patrick Reed and Rory McIlroy in the 8th match. Reed came out swinging, birdied the first hole, turned to the crowd, arms raised like he was conducting a symphony of 40,000 fans. But Rory? Not one to back down. He responded with a birdie of his own on the second. That back and forth continued, turning the match into pure golf theater. Then came the moment that sent the golf world into meltdown. The 6th hole. Reed drained a massive putt, then turned to the European gallery, finger to his lips. A bold, ice-cold shush that made jaws drop. Rory, visibly rattled but not out, returned the favor later with a fist-pumping celebration of his own, cupping his ears at the American crowd after sinking a bomb. Every hole became a battleground of looks, gestures, and roars. Reed would go up, Rory would claw back. It wasn't just golf, it was theater. When Reed finally closed out the match 1-up, fans didn't just cheer. They knew they'd witnessed what might be the greatest Ryder Cup singles match of all time. And for Team USA, they had a new lightning rod. 2. The Impossible Burden. Philip Walton's Moment of Truth, 1995. September 24th, 1995. Oak Hill. Europe needed 7.5 points to pull off what seemed like an impossible win on American soil. And somehow, the fate of the cup rested not on a legend like Seve or Faldo, but on a quiet Irish rookie ranked 108th in the world. Philip Walton was up against Jay Haas in the final singles match. He was cruising, 3 up with 3 holes to play. Then the nerves kicked in. Haas holed a miracle bunker shot on 16. Walton missed a short putt on 17. Suddenly, everything hinged on the 18th. As Walton lined up his 2-footer, his caddy was chain-smoking behind him, literally shaking. The math was simple. Walton just needed a bogey. But the pressure? Anything but simple. Before the final putt, Walton cut off his caddy's reed and said, "Brian, I've got 2 putts for it. I think I'll take them." He sank it. Europe had pulled off a 1-point win. Bernard Gallagher ran onto the green and hugged Walton. "You've just won the Ryder Cup," he yelled. Walton's stunned reply, "Have I?" That's the thing about golf. Sometimes it's the quietest guy on the course who makes the loudest impact. 3. The Birdie Barrage, Garcia vs. Mickelson, 2016. While Reed and Rory were duking it out in one of the loudest matches in Ryder Cup history, just a few holes down the course, something equally incredible was unfolding. Without the drama, but with all the fireworks. Sergio Garcia and Phil Mickelson were playing like men possessed. Shot for shot, birdie for birdie. By the time the dust settled, they'd combined for 19 birdies and 0 bogeys. Garcia shot an 8 under 64. Mickelson, a 10 under 62. That's not match play golf. That's a clinic. It wasn't a heated match full of shouting or stare downs. It was heated because neither man would give an inch. It felt like watching 2 guys who had waited their entire lives for this moment. Every hole had crowds flocking away from other groups just to catch the magic. The match ended halved, but the impact? Lasting. Many still call it the greatest golf performance in Ryder Cup history. Proof that sometimes the drama is in the scoreboard. 4. The Miracle at Medina, Poulter's 5-birdie blitz, 2012. Team Europe was 4 points down heading into Sunday singles at Medina in 2012. No European squad had ever come back from that kind of deficit, especially not on American soil. But Ian Poulter? He wasn't having it. Saturday 4 balls. Poulter, paired with Rory McIlroy, was 2 down with 5 to play against Duffner and Zach Johnson. Then it happened. Poulter birdied 14. The crowd barely noticed. Just noise control, they figured. But then he birdied 15, then 16, then 17, and finally 18. 5 straight birdies, 5 consecutive roars. Poulter's celebration after that 5th was so loud, it echoed across fairways. Europe suddenly wasn't dead. They were just getting started. On Sunday, belief returned. Justin Rose, Luke Donald, Paul Lawrie, Martin Kamer, they all stepped up. But it was Poulter who lit the fuse. Europe completed the miracle comeback, 14.5 to 13.5. And Ian Poulter, he walked off as a Ryder Cup legend. 5. Broken partnership, Reed vs. Spieth fallout, 2018. In 2018, Paris looked like it would be another step forward for Team USA. Patrick Reed and Jordan Spieth had been dominant, 4-1-2 together in previous cups. But Captain Jim Furyk made a decision that shocked everyone. He split them up. Spieth got paired with Justin Thomas and played well. Reed? He got Tiger Woods, who was still shaking off rust from years of injuries and off-course issues. The pairing flopped. Reed lost both his matches. He looked frustrated, but it didn't end there. After the crushing defeat, Reed dropped a bomb in the New York Times. He blamed Spieth. He blamed Furyk. He called out the team dynamics in brutal detail, saying Spieth didn't want to play with him, and the captain's decision had backfired. It was rare, almost unheard of, airing dirty laundry in public like that. The chemistry issues weren't just rumors, they were confirmed by one of the team's own stars. And just like that, Team USA's future suddenly felt more uncertain than ever. 6. The Belfry Confrontation. Faldo refuses the concede, 1993. 1993, the Belfry, final singles match. Nick Faldo versus Paul Azinger. The two had a rivalry stretching back 6 years, and now? They were face to face with nothing on the line for the cup. The US had already clinched, but everything on the line for pride. Faldo made par. Azinger had a 6-foot putt to have the match. Most would have conceded. A gentlemanly nod and handshake. But Faldo. He folded his arms and just stared. Azinger didn't flinch. He stepped up and buried the putt dead center. Later, while watching tape of that match during his recovery from cancer, Azinger smirked. "Look at that," he said. "I had cancer and he still couldn't beat me." Sometimes, it's not about the cup. It's about the message. That cold refusal to concede sparked whispers across both teams. Even with the cup already secured, Faldo made it personal. The tension between them wasn't hidden. It had been simmering since Muirfield in '87, where Faldo edged Azinger by a single stroke to win his first Open. The loss left scars, and at the Belfry, Faldo saw a chance to twist the knife. Azinger knew it too. As he stood over that final putt, there was no fanfare, just quiet resolve. That stare down on 18 said more than any press conference ever could. Players from both squads noticed the chill. Some praised Faldo's competitive fire. Others? Not so much. Azinger later said it was one of the coldest moments he'd experienced in match play. Years down the line, the rivalry still had legs. In interviews, neither man fully let go of that moment. It's rare to see a match with no cup implications turn into a defining Ryder Cup memory. But this one did. Because pride, when mixed with history, can sometimes outshine the trophy itself. 7. Mickelson torches Watson. Public fallout. 2014. Glen Eagles, 2014. Team USA got steamrolled, 16.5 to 11.5. Tom Watson had been brought back to captain the team, hoping to recreate his 1993 magic. But behind the scenes, the atmosphere was toxic. Watson had reportedly mocked a gift the players gave him. In meetings, he blamed them for everything. When he benched Phil Mickelson for an entire session, the tension hit a boiling point. Then came the press conference. A reporter asked what had worked in the past that hadn't worked now. And Phil lit the fuse. He began methodically breaking down why Paul Azinger's 2008 strategy had worked and why Watson's approach had failed. "Nobody here was in any decision," Mickelson said, just 3 feet from his captain. The fallout? Immediate. The US created a Ryder Cup task force. Watson's reputation took a hit, but that brutal moment led to a full retooling of the US strategy, and arguably, their win at Hazeltine in 2016. 8. The Hatgate Meltdown, Rory vs. LaCava, 2023. Marco Simone, Rome, Saturday 4 balls. Patrick Cantlay had been mocked all day by European fans waving hats, teasing rumors that he wasn't wearing team headgear as a protest for not getting paid. Cantlay drained a birdie on 18. His caddy, Joe LaCava, waved a hat in celebration, mocking the mockers. But LaCava kept celebrating, even while Rory McIlroy was lining up his own crucial putt. Rory was furious. He walked toward LaCava, pointing and shouting. Other players stepped in, but the real explosion came after, in the parking lot. Rory, still seething, had to be physically restrained as he went after LaCava again. The video went viral. The images were everywhere. And for Team Europe, that fire ended up fueling them to close out the victory the next day. 9. War on the Shore, The Rules Meltdown, 1991. Kiowa Island, 1991. American patriotism was red hot. US players arrived wearing camo caps. The Ryder Cup had turned into something far more intense, the war on the shore. The drama started early. Seve Ballesteros and Jose Maria Olazabal noticed something strange. The Americans were switching golf balls during foursomes, a violation of the one-ball rule. Azinger denied it, later admitted it. No penalty could be enforced, but the damage was done. The gamesmanship spiraled. Sev developed a cough during American swings. Raymond Floyd called him out mid-round. The crowd grew increasingly hostile. The final match came down to Bernhard Langer's 6-foot putt on 18. He missed. The US won 14.5 to 13.5. But nobody was talking about golf anymore. They were talking about a battle. 10. Brookline Breakdown, the line crossed, 1999. September 1999. The country club, Brookline. Europe had a 10-6 lead going into Sunday. Then it all went off the rails. From the opening tee shots, fans heckled European players mercilessly. Colin Montgomery bore the brunt, hearing personal insults, attacks on his family, even body shaming. It was brutal, but nothing compared to what happened on the 17th green. Justin Leonard drained a 45-foot birdie bomb, and before Jose Maria Olazabal could even putt, the American team stormed the green. Players, wives, caddies, everyone. They trampled across his putting line, celebrating like the match was over. Olazabal still had a 22-footer to have the hole. He missed. The US completed the comeback. But for many in Europe, Brookline remains the lowest point in Ryder Cup sportsmanship. What made it worse was how long the celebration went on. It wasn't a few seconds. It was a full-blown party, with hugs, screams, even high fives from officials. The European team stood by in disbelief. Sam Torrance, one of Europe's vice-captains, looked like he'd seen a ghost. Even Jack Nicklaus later said the behavior was unfortunate. The respect that had always existed between the two teams suddenly felt fractured. Montgomery, already under siege from the crowd all week, was visibly shaken. His father had been targeted by hecklers in the gallery. It wasn't just passionate fandom, it was personal. Mark James, Europe's captain, admitted after the tournament that it was one of the most painful days of his career. There were even reports of players refusing to shake hands in the clubhouse. What should have been one of golf's greatest comebacks ended with bitterness. The Ryder Cup had officially crossed into a new era, one where intensity sometimes blurred the line between competitive fire and pure chaos. And from that day forward, every Ryder Cup has carried the weight of Brookline's legacy. The Ryder Cup brings out the best, and sometimes the absolute worst, in the world's greatest golfers. Over the years, it's delivered iconic shots, historic comebacks, and unforgettable meltdowns. But at its core, it's always been more than golf. It's national pride, it's rivalry, it's emotion, unfiltered and raw. And that's why, even decades later, these controversial moments still echo through Ryder Cup history. If you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more legendary golf stories, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next wild moment in sports history. Catch you in the next one.